You mind? Go ahead.
You okay?
Yep.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Vesuvius regular open meeting of council, July the 16th, 2024, 2 p.m. in council chambers. First off, I need the approval of the agenda, and there are no late items. Thank you. Could I have, thank you, Councillor King, Councillor Bennett, all in favor? Thank you. And the adoption of some minutes. The regular open minutes of June the 25th, 2024, and the special open minutes from June the 27th of 2024. I have a motion to accept those, please. Thank you, Councillor Federica and Councillor Bennett, all in favor. Thank you. And we will now go down to water matters. This report is for expenditures from accounts payable for water district information and to be received. As of water district cash requirements to July the 16th is in the amount of $495.17. Do we have a motion, please, to accept this? Thank you. Councillor Appleby, Councillor Morera, all in favor. Thank you. And next, we will move on to the Mr. Director Davis. This is the Penticton Model Aviation Club, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before you is a recommendation to move or a lease agreement or intend to go into a lease agreement with PenMac. PenMac has held an agreement with the town of Vesuvius for the last 12 years. This year is a little bit later. They had some changes with their group. We were short-staffed, and we actually are getting to the point now of the season's going to be over. So we've excluded or included this year and for next year. There was a couple of items added to the agreement. One was the code of conduct, which is what we're going to include in all of our agreements. And we've actually added a fee for use of service and also an admin fee or a damage deposit. So before council, the recommendation is the notice of intention to lease the property at the airport. I won't say what the actual district numbers are, and more commonly referred to as the Vesuvius Airport for the purpose of sponsoring activities related to flying a remotely piloted aircraft system for a term ending on December 31st, 2025 at the rate of $500 per year.
Thank you. And because it's sort of for a year and a half, you're going to figure out the actual cost of that. Yes.
That is correct.
Prorated. Any questions, council? Anybody concerned about this? And the club members have looked at this and they're in agreement?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Could we have a motion, please? Councilor Bennett? Thank you. That we and just authorize the notice of intention. So does that mean that it's going now to be put into the paper or?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we'll advertise for 2 weeks with the costs and who we're doing this with, and then we'll bring it back at the next meeting of council for approval.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for the motion? Thank you, Councillor King. All in favor? Thank you very much. Is the one tobacco. Going to talk about some people that have asked to have their penalties waived on property tax. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Cordo. So before council, I've got 4 requests, all sent in by email requesting that the property tax penalty be waived for the properties. The town of Vesuvius property tax due date was established by the Vesuvius tax rates bylaw 1396, which stated addition of 10% will be added to any amount remaining unpaid after the 2nd day of July 2024 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And the amount unpaid, including percentage additions, will be deemed to be the amount of current year's taxes due and payable on such land improvements as provided by the community charter. The property tax notices were mailed out in late May of this year. Staff has been has consistently demonstrated professionalism and respect towards our property owners and visitors. Director of Finance is diligent about reversing penalties if there's any errors that have occurred from the town's perspective or on the town side of it. However, it remains the responsibility of property owners to ensure their property tax payments are made on time. So options before council is that council deny the request to waive the penalties for properties at 3802 Torrey Pines Drive, 301 7805 Spartan Drive, 3-6015 Maple Drive, and 55 Harvard Key Drive. Implications community, if council denies the request to waive the penalty, they stand behind their bylaw and the rules and regulations behind it. Organizationally, there's no changes. Budget, there's no changes. Significant dates, letter would be mailed out once a decision is received from council. And sustainability, there's nothing to report there. So I'll pass it back to council, and a recommendation at this time is option number 1, the council deny the request to waive the penalties.
Thank you very much. Council, does anybody have any questions or any concerns? What I will say is that I am totally in favor of not waiving the penalties. I do think that, I know it's a hard lesson to learn, but, July the 2nd is the same, date that property taxes are, due all over, British Columbia for sure. There are many, many ways to pay this. It can be done by cash, online banking, e-transfer, a registered town payment plan. You can come in and pay by check. And you can also come in at any time that town is open during the year. And if you wish to pay beforehand, you can come in and pay any day. If you win money on a lottery and you want to come in and pay $100, do so at any time. I do think that this has to be fair for everybody, and I believe that if the town was at fault in doing something, absolutely we would look at reversing the penalties and paying back the money. But I don't think we've given ample consideration to this and reminded people, and I think we need to go and with our bylaw and not allow these properties to be the penalties to be waived. So that's my thought. Not sure how anybody else feels, or if anybody would like to make a motion on this. Go ahead, Councillor King.
I'll move option 1.
Thank you. That we deny the requests. Is there a seconder for that? I'll second the motion. Is there anybody that wants to speak to this? Okay, then we will, I will call for the motion. Is there all in favor of the motion? Against? No, please against. Thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Zackel. And I'm pretty sure that there will be, there may be other people that have not paid, or do you have at this point any, can you tell us what percentage of people have paid their tax notice at this point, or is it, have any rough idea?
So we're basically on average for what we collected again this year. There's a number of properties that have not paid on time. I believe there's approximately 300 properties that we have. But on average, we're right where we were in previous years.
So all of those properties have been sent notices and letters advising them that that they are late in paying?
Absolutely. So tax certificates have been mailed out to all of the property owners. We've been following up with the properties that are in tax delinquency pending tax sales, trying to get to those people to try to communicate with them that to try to get their taxes paid in time, so we don't have a tax sale. The arrears property tax owners are in the process of sending out notifications to them, register charge holders, et cetera, to try to start those collections as well, so.
Thank you very much. Yes, Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The question being, with some of those outstanding ones at this time actually got a monthly payment, and you don't find out till August?
No,
These are
all of our pre-authorized payment, plan properties. We've established that so that they prepay their taxes, so it's all paid off by the due date, so that's a good thing. These are ones that for some unforeseen circumstance, they forgot or couldn't pay or things of that nature.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the 2024 budget adjustments. Ms. Wazako.
Thank you, Member Cordell. So, 5-year financial plan bylaw 1386 includes 3 water capital projects: 74th Avenue water main upsizing, Central 74th, and Karen Lane and Moon Crescent. Collier project leaders are assisting the town with managing these projects and have recommended that we combine these 3 projects into one. The recommended budget amendments are shown in table 1, and there are no additional funds being requested. So it's just basically a budget amendment being requested. So the recommendation before council is that council approve the proposed budget amendment as referenced in table 1.
Thank you. Councillor King.
Yeah, I'll move number 1, but I have a question. If this gets incorporated, when does it go to tender?
I believe that these projects are being tendered very soon.
Yeah, maybe I can just add a little bit on that. We are meeting regularly. There's still several steps. In fact, just provide a bit of an update. We still have to do the testing of the lake water. Interior Health has indicated to us prior to full approval, we have to do some more testing. So that is our first step. We're going through frantic process of attempting to find people that can start testing the water. So that piece needs to be completed as well as a location for the potential plant, which we're hoping that piece won't be until over the next couple months. So the plant itself, the RFP, is still several months away. We still don't know. We want to ensure that when we build the plant, we're actually creating the water that's actually there, and seeing that the original intake is probably going to be where it was currently, but what we're likely going to do is go deeper, and therefore requires more testing. So it's provided some additional information so you can think of that, but it's yeah, we're still several months away. We still don't know exactly what we're going to build. Thoughts? Again, things are very, very fluid. Got a lot of people working on it, and we're working closely with Interior Health as we always have, also with provincial government. So everybody's working in harmony to try to get this done as quickly as possible, but also ensuring that what we get in the end is what we need. So yeah, it's the whole wells, the groundwater well, really threw us for a loop, and is now we're going into a different direction, which we're basically starting from ground zero.
Okay. So is there someone who would like to move the recommended motion, please? Councillor Federica. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor King, you already did your seconding that. Thank you very much. All in favor? Thank you. Next is the general net payrolls on Bow Arena financial accounts. As of July the 16th, 2024, general cash requirements of $386,246.10. Sungold cash requirements of $27,053.50, and net payroll accounts of $341,155.86. Would we have a motion, please, to accept this information for accept the above information purposes? Thank you. Councillor Chong, Councillor King, all in favor? Thank you. So next is the building permit. And so what we can see that during the month of June, we had almost $6 million worth of building permits given out. Several for, there's 3 fourplexes that are being put in, a single family home, an addition, solar panel installation, and new deck. And so the total for 2024 is 13,790,000. And the year 2023 was 7,044,000. So it's almost double at this point. So thank you. Now, next is the bylaw and recreation services fees. I'm sorry. We need to have a motion to accept the building permit.
Thank you.
Councillor Frederica, Councillor Chong, thank you, all in favor. Okay, now we'll go on to recreation services. Director Davis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Before you is a recommendation for the recreation fees and charges amendment bylaw. We read it for a second and third time. We brought this to the committee back on June 24th. One of the items that came up to that was we didn't want to increase our rates too high to make sure that we were taking business away from other municipalities, i.e. Oliver. And we're basically just asking for a slight increase in our annual fees, which are not that big of a jump based on the study that we did in terms of the other communities. Some of the other items that we did add were just the names of some parks and also a staff fee, which would mean if a business organization, a rental wanted staff assistance or help, that we would actually have something in our fees and charges to charge back to them. And also the use of our parking lots as a fee, which other communities do have, whether they're renting the parking lot for an event or anything really. And that's basically something.
Okay, thank you. And this came to us before for some consideration, so we have looked at this before. Is there anyone that has any questions or concerns about the and is ready to do consideration after second and third reading?
Oh, wonderful.
Thank you. Councillor King, Councillor Bennett. Any questions? All right, did you have a question? No, all in favor? No. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much, Dackel. So we're now going to talk about reports from committees and the committee as a whole. And from the July the 16th meeting this morning, that committee recommended council to consider an interim watering exemption for the Vesuvius Lawn Bowl. So what we need is that council consider an interim watering exemption for the Vesuvius Lawn Bowling Club and allow the club to water as necessary while administration looks into the watering system at Gyro Park. Is there someone who would like to make that motion, please? Councillor King.
Mayor, sorry to interrupt, your worship. We have heard back from operations and I just wanted to provide the information that at this time, we cannot separate them.
So does that mean that when the watering goes on at Gyro Park, the watering also goes on at the Lawn Bowl?
Yes.
And how often is that? Do we know?
Just to clarify, so the system is very old, and so in newer systems, you can change the amount of timing for each zone. And we would really like that, because remember last year, we tried toning back, and then some of the shrubbery that requires more watering and not, started dying, so we had to go to the full extent, so that stuff wouldn't die, so that's our problem. We can't change the timing in any single zone, so we try to conserve water in the entire park. And obviously, that's not enough for this entity, so That's the problem, every zone has exactly the same time.
So I'm
Associated with-
assuming that the lawn bowling is considered one zone.
Yes,
out of the
but
many.
it's, yeah, one out of the many, and you have no flexibility within the system to change the timing of any of the zones.
So the lawn bowling club does have another option, which they're going to use as well as the parks water, is that correct?
That is.
Okay, so do you need to then change the motion? Could you tell us
Yes,
what the new motion would be, please?
So the new motion would be that council consider an interim watering exemption for the Osceola Lawn Bowling Club and allow the club to water as necessary for the 2024 year. Because we've already now heard from administration on what, if we can do anything to assist, and at this time we can't. So this would be the recommendation to council to discuss.
Thank you. So could we start that again then? Is there someone who would like to move this recommendation? Thank you. Councillor Kim, Councillor Chong, all in favor?
So just,
Thanks. Thank you.
So-
Do you want, I to take it back? We've already voted.
No, we can, okay, we can add something.
sorry, I guess I'm just wondering if we should, ask for a plan. Cause one of the things that we've done with the other entities is try, if possible, utilize water during our non-peak hours. This may not be possible, maybe asking them for work with administration, on.
So, our next motion is
Yeah.
concerning that, is could we add the lawn bowling into this, the second motion? And in other words, that they provide us a written plan? Would that make sense?
I wonder, cause this one's just different, let's just make it clearer.
Okay.
Maybe it council can just add, you can keep this motion,
Yes.
and you can say that, that the Swiss Lawn Bowling Club, work with administration to ensure the, an
Provide a work
optimum,
plan of what they're.
yeah, provide a plan
Yeah.
to accommodate our water situation.
Yeah.
Right then.
And that can be the-
Could you read that back to us, please?
So, Mayor, we'll
Yeah.
keep with this one, right?
Yeah.
Like, this one's already done, now we're doing another one, which will say that council consider, or, yes, that council advise, request, administration work with the Osceola Lawn Bowling Club to set out a schedule for watering.
Okay, that would make sense, because otherwise it leaves it wide open.
Exactly, okay.
So,
Do we have to include the city seniors?
well, they don't have any grass. But they're using the water, but it's their inside water. Does that make a difference? Yeah, it's their inside potable water that they're using, am I correct? That's why we probably need, or it's really important to get the plan, because otherwise. Yes,
I think that's a good idea, so we've got a plan, and we've got to work with the senior center to make sure everybody's happy. Right?
okay, all right,
Good point.
so
I mean-
that's, yeah, let's add senior center in there then. Do we want to include that and leave it up to the lawn bowling too?
You can put them in there, you don't have to, because if they provide a plan, that basically says that we've got to work with
With
the
the seniors.
seniors
Okay.
group. We're not gonna approve the senior club, it's not,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
okay,
So a good point, I think we got lucky in our wording.
yes, all right, so, can we have that read back to us, please, that second part? We'll wait a sec for it.
It's a few, it's a plan.
Yeah.
That's in the chat. I was like, just.
Thank you.
Sorry, that this is the second motion, is that council endorse administration work with Osceola Lawn Bowling Club to create a plan for the watering exemption.
Okay, is that fair enough? Everybody, okay, we need another, mover and a seconder for that, please. Thank you, Counselor Quadriga, Counselor King, all in favor. Thank you. And that's all been done very quickly today, so that's why it's taking us a little
Yeah.
time to get the wording correct. The next motion from the committee of the whole this morning was concerning the, that council endorse exemptions for properties that Strata owned and regulated, and that they would submit a written request. So what, I'm not gonna read that one in its entirety, but I will read the second one. So, it would be moved and seconded today that council endorse exceptions for properties that are strata owned regulated. These properties should submit a written request to the town, following which the chief administrative officer is authorized to approve. Therefore, provided there is strict adherence to the stage restrictions as outlined below. Water restrictions for watering 3 days a week. This allows the strata / property, am I really going with that term? Yes,
Yes.
to use each sprinkle head for a maximum of 3 days a week. Water restrictions for 2 days a week. This allows the strata - property to use sprinkler head to a maximum of 2 days a week, and water restrictions for watering 1 day a week. This allows the strata / property to use sprinkler head for a maximum of 1 day a week. And that is there a correction?
Yes, your
Okay.
worship, we would like to propose that, as we are updating the watering restrictions for watering 3 days a week, this allows the strata / property to use each sprinkler head to a maximum of 3 days. We would like to modify the first part, which says that council endorse exceptions for properties that are strata / property owned. We've got to figure that out because in this, we would like to make sure that we are capturing all the properties that are within our municipality that are facing this dilemma with the zones not being able to water. So we just have to figure this wording. So if you'll just give me a second, we want to, before it said strata / owned / regulated. So now we just want to incorporate the word property so that it opens, not all properties are strata owned, like our large ones. So we just want to make sure we're capturing it all so that we don't have to worry about coming back to council as we don't have another council meeting until.
Hang on, we might have a suggestion.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think your worship, we could just say that council endorse exceptions for strata and other properties.
Is that what you were going to say?
Kind of.
Okay.
What?
If the property has more than 200, it needs to be stratified regardless in BC. Like if, well, for my fourplex. We need to have strata, and if I believe duplexes also have to have a strata, but or no, anything more than 2. Have to have a strata, so. The only properties which would probably have multi-zone irrigation are either gonna be commercial. Or really huge properties, which off the top of my head, I can't. Make that in town.
We're just, I believe, trying to encompass any of the, for example, and I'm just speaking in general that a hotel that may not be strata, but it has the same watering issues with the zones that we may not have. So it would be commercial, but it wouldn't necessarily be strata. So we're just trying to encompass those properties that aren't requesting extra watering days, just watering compliance within the restrictions, but need more time.
So you would like us to change strata owned regulated to something else, or is that okay?
So
Strata owned
the whole intent
property.
here is, as long as council is okay, we're coming up with wording that basically opens up to everything. To ask to qualify for exemption, or at least work with administration to come up with an exemption. So that's the intent of this motion. If council wants to limit it to kind of residential properties, then we change the word. If they want to limit it to strata / commercial, that's okay too. But I believe the intent here is, we don't know all the situations, that's part of the problem, so the intent of this motion, council wants to go in that direction. It encompass all properties that have this zone problem. So if we just said that council endorse exceptions for strata and other properties. I think that,
So instead of
Yeah.
for strata, for properties that are strata owned and regulated,
Yeah.
we change it to strata owned properties.
strata and other properties, for strata and other properties. That
Strata,
then includes everything, and we can say that strata are a little bit different.
Other.
We could have maybe just said properties,
Yeah.
then
Okay, so we cross out the strata owned regulated, so move that council endorse exceptions for strata and other properties.
Yeah.
Period, okay. These properties should submit a written request to the town, that continues, right, they need to provide that.
Yeah.
And so watering restrictions for watering 3 days a week, this allows the property to use each sprinkler head, does that make sense? We take out the word strata?
well, because we identified it. Otherwise, I would say strata / property, and it
Oh, allows the strata
So keep the
/
second-
property to
Yeah.
use, okay. So, and that's for 3 days a week, 2 days a week, and 1 day a week. And that the schedule for the use of the sprinkler heads be approved by administration. And that any violations or abuse of the schedule, the agreement will be null and void. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Did everybody get that? All right, so is there someone who would like, yes, Councilor King?
With this motion, does it mean they're gonna use more water, less water, or the same amount of water? By allowing this, because when you say properties now, you could have everybody in town asking for,
So in theory, what the general direction that council has provided, and what we believe this motion entails. Is that we're not expanding water usage to other people. Now, what could potentially happen, and we heard it this morning. So if you had 52 zones and you divide it by the 4 hours that's available, it works out to whatever, 10 minutes per zone. So obviously, if we extended it, they're probably gonna use 20 minutes. So there's a potential for some additional water during that one zone, yes. But it's probably likely no more than anybody else, and they could go and spend that. Whatever, 10, 20, 30,000 and try to split it up into a different type of format or that type of thing. So is there potential for additional water consumption? Yes. However, we are saying, I think the council has tried to motivate them to change it for 2025, so. The exceptions that we're making it for 2024 in hopes that they'll make some amendments to their systems and or. Change their vegetation to be more. Less water. So does that help you? Like, that's my assumption.
it doesn't help me.
Well, we don't know, we don't have a timer on
Yeah.
each and how many gallons come out, but that's what we heard from this morning's person.
Yeah, okay. I guess I relate that we exempted a different property last council meeting, and we were under the belief he could change different zones, but he wouldn't use any more water. So what makes this property different that he has to use more water when we're trying to save water?
So you were, I can't. We don't monitor the gallons per liters that go into each. Or how many minutes each zone is used, I mean, that's something that council can put in here, is say that. When administration is dealing with the property owners, it can be no longer than X minutes per sprinkler head. If that's something council like to do, that gives us more, descriptor, more, it's more clarity as to what to do, because you're right. Right now, we don't know if we're gonna use it, instead of 15 minutes, 45 minutes, you know, at some point, it's just wasting water.
So sprinkler heads are also quite different too,
Yeah.
and that I've got 2 different kinds. One probably, puts out in a minute a gallon, and the next one is bigger and it expands more and it puts out 2 or 3 gallons. So, you know, it's very difficult to try and totally regulate this. What I think we need to do is make sure that people are aware of the amount of water that they're using, not only in their house, but in their gardens. And that, well, quite frankly, when we get water meters, this might help us to be able to tell how much water is being used at each one. And that we hope will be in very soon, but this is just a way for us to try and deal with these issues this year. Climate change is not going to, produce cooler weather in the summertime, I don't think. And so this is going to be an ongoing issue that we're going to have to deal with, year after year, so. Trying to, I agree, we need to look at it for this year and try and do the best we can, and we need to really encourage people to think about their water usage everywhere. To check that they're not growing their lawns, cutting them too low, all of the things that Make Water Work suggests. Checking with their computer system and making sure that it's working properly. Fixing sprinkler heads that are broken and are leaking. Those are all just as important as the amount of water that they put on it. So I think we've got a fair amount of work to do, just in educating people about how they can use water wisely. So, but I'm okay with this motion if that's, we had a mover and a seconder, yeah.
No, I get one more question.
You've got more questions.
Just, I'm gonna do something today. If someone submits a letter requesting, then it comes back to us to make the final decision.
Through your worship, this motion is passed, no. It would authorize administration to actually enter into the agreement based on these conditions.
Okay, then what's your criteria for you to say yes or no to a person? Because you don't like me, but you like him, so what's the,
Oh, well,
what's your,
so I think we go through the process to check out the system to ensure that they have the number of zones that they have really do not make sense to get through in that 4 hours, like what we were, like 52 zones. That type of thing. And that's the process we go through, so there's a administrative work on our side. I completely appreciate the comments that you made as far as what's reasonable to you, as far as 10 minutes per cycle versus 20-25. If it's on the south side, it probably needs more versus the north side. There's all these conditions. I can assure you that, we're gonna do our best. Some people not agree with administration on something, that's a possibility. But it isn't going to be a 10-point bullet list saying 6 minutes, 15 minutes, so it's gonna be a bit. I guess great, but we're not gonna say no to people just because,
oh, I respect that.
but it is tough. This is not something, whenever you make exceptions to regulations or bylaws, it gets difficult. So I appreciate the questions that you're asking. I don't like exceptions to bylaws because it just opens up things, and next time it's gonna be a little bit further and then a little bit further. So
But
appreciate
the written request is what that's the important part to me.
I realize that, but I guess what I'm relating to is trying to get something off your plate instead of adding stuff onto your plate. And since we're short so much staff, how many hours in a day do you have? I mean, it's ridiculous. And why are we bending our own rules? When we're trying to conserve water, which we don't have any, we get reports, we're down to nothing.
I can't disagree with that statement, as everybody knows around council, I'm sure the public knows, we should have one well that is not running ever. That's not our case. We had one electrical mishap or one pump mechanical mishap, but we will be going to stage 4. That's how critical it is. We've been so fortunate that something hasn't occurred. So I couldn't agree with you more. We've been very lucky, and that's part of the problem. When you run into a huge problem, everybody thinks it's okay, but we are running into the red zone every single day. So I completely 100% appreciate the comments that are, and we do not have staff time, 100%. there are numerous requests from customers that are weeks old that we have not gotten back. So couldn't agree with you more.
Can I just ask one more question then? Thank you. So if you have an agreement or a letter come to you and we say he can go ahead and do it, do we have the power to say, you gotta stop tomorrow if we run out of water? Would that be in the agreement?
Yeah, so how it works is if we go to stage 4, it changes, stage 4.
Now, I'm
no
not saying
water.
if anything changed. If you tell me on a report, our next well just crashed, we're out of water, do these guys still keep water?
No,
Nobody
No.
does.
nobody does. If we go to stage 4, which is no watering anything,
Okay.
0.
All right, thank you.
Does that help? It's,
Yeah.
it's not great.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for your
Councillor
question.
Bennett,
Really
then
do
Councillor Chong.
I'd like to move the amendment. And.
Yeah.
I would like to move the amendment and just like to make a comment that I think that for this year, because we only got a month and a half left, that we use this amendment to get through the summer and we look into for next year, getting some property drafted up of what can fit in, so people know what they can do next year on what zones, how much water, and try to look at some different restrictions, but I don't think we can do it in the summer. I think that's something on the longer term. So let's just get through this and on.
Councillor Chong.
Yeah. In my opinion, like I found the bylaw to be, we expressed this before, I found it to be fundamentally flawed. Mainly because we have 4 stratified communities that are all in the single digits, or it's all in the even digits. Meaning, and each of these communities have upwards to, I think, 100 units, like 50 to 100 units, meaning when we add them all together, that's 10% of all our parcels. So with these, and they were stratified, and I think they don't really classify within the confines of the bylaw. And I echo the same sentiments as Councillor Bennett, where using this amendment right now, these exemptions, and then amending the bylaw for 2025. Which is why I have a little bit of hesitation with just making them just properties in the motion. That, and also, I feel that it leaves room for confusion for a lot of property owners and studios. Like, what if they have like 3 zones? Like, oh, maybe I can apply for this exemption. And then now we have all these applications that you haven't now filtered through. While if it's stratified, it acts as a filter. Because really, we just want, in my opinion, I just want to target these stratified communities because they do deserve exemptions, because it doesn't work, the bylaw does not work for them. And it's again, like the whole intent really is, this is just a Band-Aid for this year, and then we can look at that bylaw in more depth as we do reviews with all bylaws, because there will be certain populations that don't fit. So I'll second that motion as long as it only pertains to stratified properties.
So is that different than the motion we just made? And can we add, for 2024 into this, bylaw? Just say, in other words, in 2025, we kind of start again and we redo it. So what are you suggesting, that you take out the word "and other properties" and just say strata properties? Is that what you meant to, Councillor Bennett? Yeah, see, we're all thinking slightly differently, I think that's the thing, so we need to come up with something that we can all agree with. I think.
Yes, so one of the things, because there's a motion on the table, so we
Yes.
need either. That will need to be either defeated or friendly amendment, so I just wanted to let you.
Yeah.
Know that.
Friendly amendment,
Yes.
it's agreeable.
So who made the motion?
Councillor Bennett.
Myers.
Okay, and seconded, so, okay,
Friendly amendment.
all right, so is it possible to read that back to us? Okay, or do you need a little time? I know it's confusing.
Yeah, so we're going back to the one that was approved this morning,
Yes.
that. Okay, that council endorsed exceptions for properties that are strata owned / regulated. These properties should submit a written request to the town following which the chief administrative officer is authorized to approve, provided there is strict adherence to the staged restrictions as outlined below. For the 2024
Yes.
year. Okay, so we'll have to add. And then it does state that the water restrictions for watering allows the property to use each sprinkler head to a maximum of 3 days, 2 days, and 1 day based on the staged restriction. And that the schedule for use of the sprinkler heads be approved by administration. And that any violations or abuse of the schedule, the agreement will be null and void.
Is that okay?
Is that okay?
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded.
Yeah.
I'll call the question, all in favor?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you very much. And, yes, it's tricky for sure, we get it. All right, next is,
So maybe just one
Yes.
more question, because there was some dialogue with regards to working on this bylaw in 20 or the fall or whatever it is. If there could be some clarity around that, cause it does get extremely complex, the whole problem with this is it's not, there's all these nuances out there that we don't know of, so if there's maybe certain things or emotion to help us, that would be great. I mean, in theory, the great thing would be that everybody's doing things over the winter, come back knowing there's no exceptions to this. They've dealt with their vegetation, that type of thing, and
so does that, are
Staff
you,
review this bylaw. And come
That
back with
staff
suggestions.
review it, or that we look at the bylaw again in early 2025? So that it would be ready for the season, which normally starts, I think, in May, the watering season. Does that make sense that or we really, you're quite right, we want people to be thinking about it before then and doing some work on their own property so that they're ready for it. So maybe we put something out this fall and say, please know that this is only for 2024, and by next year, we would like you to have considered a better option.
your worship,
Yes.
I agree overall with that comment. Our problem is we have no
I know.
horsepower.
I know.
And so in theory, it would be great because we want people to comply, and it'd be good if we actually had more defined rules so that they can actually maybe get it done for the spring. I honestly can't commit to council and the public is to, unless it's like, that's what I was asking, there's 1 or 2 minor changes, we can probably expedite it and get it out. If there's a lot of detail type stuff, I honestly don't have the horsepower to do that, so that's.
Totally understand. I'm just wondering if other communities of a similar size might have something in one of their bylaws, and could we look at that? Go ahead.
Thank you. My real main concern is reservoir levels, and I think once we can have that data, and if we have an opportunity here, we can smoothen out the curve and make sure the reservoir levels can just slowly climb, or at least they pass it instead of those dips and highs. Which with these exempted properties, we have that opportunity to shift it around. There aren't that many stratified communities that would fall under the exemption. Well, to my knowledge anyways. So we have a possibility where we may not need to amend it, we can just extend the exemptions as well. So I think in terms of staff, if we have that extra horsepower, then we can have a look at the bylaw maybe early 2025. If we don't, then we can at the same time also analyze the data and see, do these exemptions work? If they do, then we can just maybe extend it. That way it doesn't require any additional staff hour. If they don't work, then we're coming back to the drawing board. But at least we have a few scenarios and opportunities to play with. That's my thought process with these exemptions.
I think that makes sense, and so we say for 2024, in January or February, we can say, we don't have anything better, we will extend these for 2025. I mean, that's a possibility. Somebody else, go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you.
And then Councilor.
You know, I feel like we're maybe sidetracking from the original intention of why we amended the bylaw, and that was so that there is some consistency amongst the valley up and down. You know, in terms of general wording, those types of things. We're obviously we're unique, but you know, we do have some other challenges, mostly because of our geographical location. We do have a slightly higher level water concerns compared to some municipalities in the region, but also because of the temperature and everything else, because of the type of resident or visitor that's using that water. You know, we're gonna compare ourselves and say to the Oliver, where there's obviously a significant influx of seasonal residents here. One thing that we should look at obviously is if we are going to consider these exemptions, you know, part of the frustration I think is these properties have had water issues in the past. There hasn't been a intention of changing how they landscape. You know, they lost, you know, as we heard from them last week, they lost about $250,000 in landscaping due to weather, only to replace it with similar product. You know, I would be interested in the conversation if there's been some intention of reducing their water demand, whether it's a change of landscape product and material, or whether it's a xeriscape of some sort, you know, and it's still an issue, then that's something to look at. I guess the other one would be too, though, is my thought here on this is the understanding that you know, having that flexibility to move around, but it's we have one opportunity if you're going to request an exemption, it's all done at once prior to the season, not in the middle of the summer when they're seeing that effect, and hear it all at once and go from there, so that we're not having to repeat this every week, so it's taking up, you know, the entire years with the staff time. The fact we're having this discussion in July, in June, even May, let's say, this is a conversation that should have happened, but those strategies should have had way earlier than that. It should have happened at the end of last year to have those conversations and have a plan in place on what they're willing to do to make those changes, so. I think the bylaw itself has a good purpose, you know, the address one, as we've seen some of the valley, it does specifically identify that the property number relates to the master property, not to the units themselves. I think there's some, you know, there's some opportunity there. That's how it is. Obviously, lefts and rights, odds and evens, there's an opportunity for us, you know, to push some of those heavier water usage properties into those non-peak days so that we're not completely depleting water supply issues. We have those challenges as well. That's my thought.
I totally agree, and most of these properties had to deal with this last year, because we were at 1 day a week last year. So I'm wondering why things. We're at 2 days a week right now, and it seems to be a crisis, and yet last year we were at 1 day a week, so we need to have people be better prepared, but better educated. Councillor King, did you have something?
Yeah, thank you, Edward. How old is this bylaw?
So the bylaw that we just passed in like a couple weeks old.
Oh,
This
maybe
one
on the
is,
water.
is probably,
I think it's about maybe 4 or 5 years, 2017, 18, something like that.
it's from, it's definitely several years.
Okay, well then on to that's another question. I go back to Councillor Chung's first comment. Our job as councillors are to review bylaws and policies for the town. You seem to be able to find time to review requests, and now you're telling me you're too busy to look at a bylaw. I think it's important we review the bylaw sometime in the next 6 months before next year. That's my opinion.
I would think it's because we have less staff right now that makes quite a difference,
I
Councillor.
can use that as kind of, I can't use that because he's just taking on more jobs with people requesting exemptions on water. But we're asking them, or I'm asking them, as a motion to review this bylaw, and now we've got no time. It's our choice to find time and what's our priorities. We're not saying it has to be done next month. We're giving them 6-8 months to review it.
Certainly it needs to go on the list of things to be done for sure, but you're quite right. We're trying to accommodate everybody's requests, and you know that we get them all the time. We get people asking us to do things and to look at things and deal with things all the time. So it just seems to be more and more and more, but I totally agree with you. I think it's something that we need to put on the list of things to do.
So just maybe to answer the question, so 2011 was when the bylaw was put in
Yeah, so I mean,
place.
it's 13 years ago.
And actually, you know, administration will do what council chooses. All I'm saying from administration's perspective, we have limited capacity, and there's only so many things that we can do. Certainly, you can tell us, we'll do our best, do whatever, our job is to, do what the council so chooses, but you also know that when things don't get done, call it come through the back door. That's all I'm doing is informing council that we're limited in our capacity, but if the council wants, we will deliver. Yeah, and I never once said that we would willing to take on more work for other things, so if council so chooses, we absolutely will. You're the governing body, we're the doers, but there's only so many hours, so something's gonna fall off, that's all I'm saying.
I'm gonna disagree with you about 2011, because I remember that we put in a 3-day-a-week watering, which was the new normal, and that was about 2017. It was certainly, I wasn't the mayor in 2011, it was during my tenure.
You are correct, Mayor, in the fact that there was an amendment made in 2016. So the original bylaw was created in 2011 with amendment in 2016 and now most recently in 2024.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Echoing Councilor King's comments, I agree. It is our job. My points are mainly to be pragmatic and to be realistic. Best case scenario, obviously, we are able to get more horses for more horsepower, and we're able to do a better review of the bylaw. But it's good to have contingency. If we don't have that horsepower and these exemptions are still working, I see no reason why we cannot just extend it and allocate our resources appropriately. I just wanted to clarify my point on that one.
I totally agree. I agree with that. We can tell you that.
Also, one other piece I just wanted to add, just so council is aware, one piece of data we do have, is we do know the level of our reservoirs. That is one really good piece of data that we do have. Just so council is aware, we can tell you the status of it just about every minute of the day. I'm gonna really exaggerate on that. What we know is that during the evenings, our pumps do not keep up. We definitely know that. All the pumps are running and they're depleting. It's just how far are they depleting? And we've been, this past weekend, they got a little worse. So we're getting 30% is the absolute critical level, and we're floating around that 50% now. Like that is really, there's not much capacity there. So just so council's aware, we can provide all of the data on the reservoirs. It changes, also on the temperature, so it's really tough to actually try to develop some trends that, if you really start correlating maybe temperatures and maybe how many people are in our in the community that weekend. So I think there's a few other variables that are tough to bring in, but just, we do have that data, but it's still, and it's been hot now for 2 weeks, scorcher. Maybe people are turning it up an extra 3 minutes. I don't know, but we are using more water this weekend in the past. We're also very concerned that, going down to 1, maybe then people are gonna do, instead of 10 minutes, 35 minutes, so it might make those days even worse. So it's a bit of a balancing act, but again, we're really happy with the performance of our citizens and stepping up to the fact that we are in better shape than we were last year. But I just want to get another positive thing in there.
Thank you. This conversation has gone on for quite a while, so it's obviously of great concern to all of us, so. All right, so we're going to move on to our Airport Advisory Committee minutes. Am I correct? We okay with everything else? All right. So, we do have some minutes that were provided for the Airport Advisory Committee from February 8th, 2024. I'm assuming there's been meetings since then,
Yeah.
but we just don't have the minutes yet. All right, and so we need a motion that the committee minutes from 2020 February 8th be received for information.
I'll answer the question.
All right, go
I
ahead.
don't know if you'll have an answer. It's talking about spending anywhere between 50 and 100,000. Do you have money in their bank, are you aware of, or are they gonna be looking to raise funds?
You're referring to the, sorry, we're
Sure, give us the.
for the study that was there was a provincial grant from, that they received in full. So they, yeah, they've, I think they funded the initial on their own, but yeah, it was a fully, meeting grant that they received last year. They have till, I think, till the end of this year, or early next year to use those funds. So that is there, and we work with, the engineer there to ensure that that does come in, below that budget.
So are you making that motion then, that Councillor Federica, that we receive the minutes of information? Thank you. Thank you. Moved and seconded, all in favor? Thank you. Next is the Accessibility and Aid Friendly Committee, which was on May the 23rd. There's a fair amount of information in here. Councillor King, or you have anything to add to this, or have some of the?
Well, you might get an update. We did, Mike Stiles and myself did meet with a rep from provincial parks and from the manager of, the park down there. And I guess there's two main studies that have to be done, one from the fisheries and one from the environment, before there be any movement on a potential dock zone.
This is down at the Haynes Point.
Yes.
I was just down there the other day walking, and right beside the boat launch, there's been a lot of vegetation cleared. Is that the reason for it was it had anything to do with this?
No, it's had nothing to do with us. They just had to repair that. It was just a mess, so they cleaned it up on their own expense.
Well, I don't know what I was asking somebody who was taking their boat out, and they said, well, it was a little bumpy still. But I'm amazed at how many trees and how much the view has improved down there, many places. So they've done a good job. All right, so we're looking at a motion to accept the Accessibility and Age Friendly Committee minutes from May the 23rd. Thank you. Councillor King, Councillor Chong, all in favor. Thank you. All right, next is the report from our CAO. If you have anything else to add. You've given us a lot of information.
Tired of my voice. One of the things that I am to do here is to indicate awarding of contracts, and as council is aware, the Rose Winery, that's been a kind of a project for about 2 years in the province, has now approved that. So if that winery is paying for the service that they're going to be receiving, and so that contract was awarded to EXO Contracting Limited. There is no cost to the town with regards to this, but it's still something I'm reporting out. But done to our problem, we will be being reimbursed.
It's Rainbow Lake, thanks very much.
We will be reimbursed 100% for the cost of that. We have entered in some other contracts for our water projects, plus because of the vacancies we have in that area, so we had to contract out some project management with the Colliers. And so that is another thing that we get, just because of no staff, and we know the importance of some of these projects. We have reduced and not proceeding with some of the contracts that were approved within the budget, just because of getting consultants to do it is probably, you know, a significant amount of costs that we just can't absorb the budget. But water, we are continuing to move full steam ahead. Community services, hopefully very, very soon. The accessibility trailer will be ready and be located down at Barrow Beach. That was a trailer that was received through a grant. So that's just getting some deckling done. So that's hopefully out soon. The first family splash of the season is July 18th. Sun Bowl Arena is gonna be opening here pretty soon for some hockey camps. The ice is, this week they're working on the ice. Kind of a little bit of excitement with regards to the arena. We got a center clock donated by West Kelowna, at no cost. We still have, we are incurring some costs on the clock, but basically engineering, steel frames, that type of thing. But I wanted to do a big shout out to West Kelowna for, again, donating that to us. And yeah, it's installed. I think it's completely functional, but maybe not quite, but it'll be ready for the new season for sure. And the roller hockey or roller pop-up roller rink is a huge success. I think last go around July 6th, 120 to about 150 participants. The thing's not so good. Dogs at large continue to be a concern down at Gyro. So we are monitoring it and getting calls on that. So it's another reminder for people, keep your dogs on a leash. We did hire a part-time park ambassador. This has been posted for a few years and wasn't filled. This year we had somebody that put their hat in the ring and they started on Saturday. So yes, we're happy about that. This had a little more presence than park areas. On our financial side, we're getting ready to start the budget process. I know nobody wants to talk about it, but we do still need to have the snow, Sun Bowl and fire budgets approved prior to October 31st. So we're starting on those. Our fire department's going to be at Farmers Market on July 20th. Obviously, we're always promoting safe initiatives and always looking for, I call them volunteers. I really appreciate the work that they do, and we do pay them for some of the work that they do, but I still think it's something that we do for the good of the community. As far as new businesses, Soy Rose Steak Winery and Matrix Aviation Solutions are the two new businesses that came to the community over the last couple of weeks. There has been some ads in the newspaper and on the radio. We talked about the zoning bylaw quite a bit over the past year at least. And we need to comply with Bill 44. And so again, we're in that middle period as far as whether the province is going to give approval, et cetera, et cetera. We still haven't received anything from the province, but there is consultation going on at the end of the month. There's a webinar that people can join, and then there's also the opportunity to do one-on-one meetings with the planners to ask additional questions. So I just want to put another shout out from that. And from the operational services perspective, our lagoons, it's temperatures, we'll have some odor like every other year, nothing abnormal compared to what we experienced in the past, but there are odors there. We're doing our best to mitigate it as much as possible. We did have some sprinkler heads that were vandalized, unfortunately, about 40 of them. That is unfortunate. Whenever we're going to dedicate resources to fixing stuff, it does impact something else that we do. It's just the type of thing that doesn't provide any benefit to anybody. So if people see vandalism, please report to us or the RCMP so that it can be addressed. And I think that is it. Your worship.
Thank you, Mr. Resnick. Could we have a motion, please, to receive the CAO report for information? Councillor King, Councillor Chong, all in favor. Thank you very much. Absolutely, go ahead.
Thank you. How much is it to replace each sprinkler head though?
I think sprinkler head is not a huge cost. It's our time going to it. 40 sprinkler head is probably always a few hours work. So it's fairly costly. From a labor perspective, I'm more concerned with just the amount of demands during our peak season and all the things that we want to do for tourists and our residents during this period. So like that, in my opinion, from administration perspective, is probably more disappointing than the actual cost of the actual sprinkler head itself. But it's.
Can I ask
Question.
where was this all in one park or has this been spread around?
No, I think it was more, one area. Down, Gather Road.
Gyro. Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay. We will move on to, council reports, Councilor Chong.
Thank you. Lots of stuff happening. So, I just wanna first and foremost thank, the Students Festival Society for putting on such an amazing, Canada Day celebration. The parade, I don't remember it being as well attended in the past. I know Sean remember, but, it was amazing to see Main Street just completely packed with people. Especially those enjoying the shade in the street plaza. I did, earlier, I think it was a couple of days before, I did see, Frank and Deb's and Wade helping out with some of the fencing, so I just want to thank them as well for their help. The opening ceremonies, amazing, wish we had a bigger cake, but, we'll get a new cake plate for that. And, I believe it was the Sue's Pickball Club that was helping out the beer garden, so I just want to thank them as well. Everything was awesome. And then I just wanted to address a few things too. In terms of a few hot topics, a few rumors going around. So first, I'd like to address Dollarama. I want to clarify that it is not council's position to either allow or not allow businesses to enter a community. We issue business licenses and to the best of my knowledge, we can't exactly discriminate against businesses for those business licenses. So I just wanted to re-clarify that we are not in our power to decide who does or does not come into our community. And then I believe there was a few rumors about the water grant and the timeline on that as well. I just want to clarify for the public that our staff are working very closely with the province and with the related organizations to make sure that our grant is not in danger. We're going through every single step, every single hoop to make sure that the grant funding is spent in a responsible manner and a sustainable manner. We have one opportunity right now to make a huge difference for generations to come for Estudias, and we want to make it correct. So I just want to again clarify that we are in contact with IGR, we are in contact with the related ministries. This is priority number one. So that I hope really puts out to that. Other than that, basically is my report.
Thank you very much, and thank you for bringing that up, Councillor Chong. Councillor Puerto Rico.
Thank you, Worship. Obviously, July 1st. I've lost track of how many parades I've been in over the years, but quite a few. And it was great to be it turned out. I think it was around 20 or so of my 35 years, so in various capacities. But a great turnout for July 1st. Really good to see, good length. Weather was great for us, not as hot as it was every other day since, but thanks again to Students Festival Society volunteers and the other organizations that helped, and also to our own staff who been busy getting ready for Cherry Fiesta July 1st and every other day since, as we continue to be Canada's warmest welcome. I also want to thank the Students Festival Society for what they've done to ensure that we had a fireworks show this year. They operate on a very thin timeline and on a fairly thin budget to what we're used to, but you know, I think at the end of the day, it was a great show. It was a great performance. It definitely is something that was missed in the community, so it was great to see that come back. And I look forward to, you know, obviously as we continue on in the summer, it's so far we've lucked out in terms of no smoke. And you know, and relatively low fires in the area. I hope we continue that, knock on wood, for the rest of the season. Because we certainly need it, especially after the fires in 2021 and 2023. So that's my report.
Thank you very much. Councillor King.
I guess all I can really do is say ditto to July first, thanking the Festival Society. But I'd also like to thank the Music in the Apartment Party Nights that started a couple of weeks ago. I mean, I know it's very hot out there these days, but they still put on their performance and they're still getting excellent turnout. So it's nice to see people downtown and others did that.
Thank you. Councillor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. July first, again, I volunteered at the Rotary Pancake Breakfast and then participated in the parade and there's a lot of people because we ran on the flags in the first block, I think. We're getting close to start. July 8th, we had Trails of the Okanagan meeting and unfortunately we found out that Mark Woods from RDOS has left and he was a big friend of the Trails of the Okanagan, so hopefully we can find somebody to fill in for him. And then July 12th, I volunteered at the Trails of the Okanagan stand at Grand Pondo in Penticton and help promote cycling tourism in the cities. That's my report.
Thank you. I've got a list here and I keep thinking of extra things to write down on it. Sorry. The RDOS, of course, I go to meetings up there every 2 weeks and they have started as of July the 1st, a 4-day work week. And they're doing a trial for 6 months. That being said, the office and the front desk is open 5 days a week. It's not only 4. So they're hoping to improve employee recruitment and retention and what everybody seems to need right these days, a work-life balance. So that's what it was announced. So we'll see how that works there. July the 21st to the 27th is National Drowning Prevention Week. So that's quite important to people in Osoyoos because over the years that I've lived here, there have been many people that have drowned, and we don't want that to happen. I do know that the lifeboat or the life jacket facility is being built, I think, this week, and that will certainly help to have people out in boats and on rafts and canoes and everything, you have to have a life jacket on, so we hope that will help. You will see the milfoil harvester has been out on the lake and they do leave piles of milfoil on the shores. There's one down by Legion Beach and I'm not sure where the others are. Please help yourself if you want any of it. It is wonderful fertilizer for gardens, retains the moisture in your garden. And lots of people use it. What the OBWB has to do is bring a truck down and take it up to the landfill if nobody picks it up. So if you know anybody that needs it, orchards, I mentioned it to town staff the other day as well. So it's there, it goes on during the summertime that the milfoil is piled up there. So anybody who wants to bring a truck and get it. On Friday, I met the Portuguese consul, Mr. Costa, who came to town, and the CAO came in as well. It was very nice. The Portuguese community here has been in full swing, actually, I think for many years, 50, 60 years, because I think they started a lot of Portuguese people came over from the Azores and from Portugal starting in the 1950s. So Mr. Costa comes and helps them with applying for passports, helping them deal with issues if they have property back in Portugal that they need help with. And he was very nice and he brought me some Portuguese, so it was even better. Thanks to Cherry Fiesta. You know that before Cherry Fiesta went on July the 1st, that there is a town meeting that's organized to bring in Festival Society, bylaw, police, ambulance, town staff, everybody that's involved to try and make sure everybody's on the same page. And tomorrow we are having sort of a wrap-up meeting of that with the town and with staff to make sure that if there were any issues that needed to be dealt with, then that will be looked at right away. So that's a good thing. Tomorrow is also camp day at Tim Hortons. And I believe it's all of the coffees tomorrow that are sold, that money is helping kids go to camp. So I know that there's lots of community volunteers that are down there, that are helping to, make this, a great day in Osoyoos. There's a street dance, I think it's this weekend, I think the first one, and it's on 7 o'clock until 10 o'clock, I think, and it's at Gyro on Saturday night. And Clint and Bridget Hawes are the ones that look after that. They have been doing it for a few years. Francis and Larry from Home Hardware put it on, they closed off the street beside their business for many, many years, brought in a portable stage. It was great fun, and thanks to Clint and Bridget, they're continuing on with that. There's one this weekend and then one in August as well. I was on the International Lake Osoyoos Board of Control. We check in every once in a while. Condition 8, which means drought conditions, allowing the lake level to go up to 912.5 rather than 912, is still in operation. The Similkameen River is low. It's at the 15th historical percentile, which then triggers us to get a notification that Similkameen is very dry. The Okanagan is considered dry, so we're still in a drought situation. And I think that, oh, and I was also at Brad, that was a very nice event. There were 39 graduates that graduated from OSS this year. $86,000 was given out for the graduates. It was phenomenal. And I also provided the $1,500 3 times for 3 of our graduates. So I was very happy to do that. And just on Cherry Fiesta, I just wanted to also say not only all of the members of the Festival Society and all of the other people, but town staff. Town staff just turn out for 3 days and afterwards, coming down and helping to get all the materials that are needed and helping with cleaning bathrooms more often. All the bylaw officers were there, RCMP, fire, ambulance. Everybody was there and everybody helped. So it's a great event. And next year, it's the 75th anniversary, so it'll be bigger and better, I'm thinking. Anyway, that is my report. And I would like a motion, please, from council that pursuant to section 91 of the community charter, a part of the council meeting may be closed to the public if the subject matter being considered relates to one or more of the following. 91A, personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality, or another position appointed by the municipality. 91C, labor relations or other employee relations. 91K, negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of the municipal service that are at their preliminary stages and that in the view of council could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality if they were held in public. Could I have a motion, please, to go in camera?